Hey there, it's Thomas Ryan with Thomas Ryan Real Estate. Wanted to set a little background of this video that you are about to watch. What it is a conversation between me and Seth Peek, a real estate agent out of Atascadeo, California. We had the opportunity to meet at the Tom Ferry Success Summit in Dallas, Texas a few weeks ago. And when we got home, we decided we need to kind of have a conversation and document exactly what we took away from the event, some of the topics that were discussed, and ultimately just our big takeaways and some things that we will implement into our business and our personal lives. So go ahead and take a look. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye. Seth, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's only been a few days, but yeah, just wanted to jump on here. Obviously, we just both got back from the Tom Ferry Success Summit. We actually met sitting there in the crowd. There he is. There's Tom. Met sitting there in the crowd and just kind of connected. We eventually shared dinner that night, but yeah, just wanted to kind of circle back and kind of decompress after everything. So I thought we'd start out by just kind of, telling the viewer a little bit about ourselves.
Right.
We're both from California. So if you
Yeah.
want to kind of talk about your business, your market, and maybe, kind of some insights there, and I'll do the same.
Well, I think it was interesting. We have a lot of parallels in terms of both being from San Diego, around the same age, and like all these parallels, and we don't live where we grew up. So it's kind of like we're in different markets in California. But I was kind of interested to hear, Chino, where you're at, is very similar in terms of price point to Atascadero, where I'm at, and it's completely different part of the state. But I thought that was pretty interesting, data point. I always think of the Inland Empire or like eastern part of LA County and Riverside, San Bernardino as being more expensive than where we are. But so that was pretty neat. I come from San Luis Obispo County. And Peak Realty, we're based in Atascadero, up near wine country, like Paso Robles area. And our county is only like 280,000 people. Our city of Atascadero is 27,000 is what they say. It's probably more like 30 now. It's been a few years since they updated the sign on the freeway.
Yeah.
But our market is very similar to yours. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said yours was about 750 median home price in Chino, and that's where we're at in Atascadero. Whereas in the whole county of San Luis Obispo was about 806,000. I think the last I checked, 800,000 is the median home price in the whole county.
Okay.
But we've got beach communities all the way to ranch communities to inland valley. So there's a big diverse offering here.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, our like median average price point is in the upper sevens. You're looking at like a 4-bedroom, 2.5, 3-bath on average, about a 2,000 square foot home, somewhere in there, and about a 6,500 to 7,000 square foot lot. I think that's wherein lies the difference, right? Like we're on a more typical suburban style area. We have different types of properties, but the vast majority of the newer builds, or even the builds after, say, the 70s, are going to be with properties with lots of 4,500 square feet to 8,000 square foot, 9,000 square foot on the larger end. So that's probably wherein lies the difference in our markets as far as that's concerned. Yeah, so you're looking at upper sevens as the median. Obviously, we have some properties that go into the mid-range of 1.5 million, probably is the majority of the top. There's a couple that will sell more than that, but those are typically going to be your multiple acres properties with a single family home on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. And I think that also, we're kind of considered like a satellite of like bigger cities. We're, for a point of reference, if you're watching this, like we're about, I don't know, 2.5 hours south of like the South Bay, San Jose, maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes from like the base of Silicon Valley area. So there's a lot of people during COVID that relocated down here if they didn't have to be in the office anymore. And we're only 3 hours maximum north of Los Angeles. So you kind of have this, like a lot of people moving to our area in the last few years to get out of the city during COVID and wanting to relocate out of the city centers. So what they saying at the summit, someone was saying like donuts of the cities are are getting more populated and more people are moving to donuts around the cities and around, surrounding areas?
Yeah, definitely similar again. We're the very beginning of San Bernardino County, which borders LA County to like the east, north, or sorry, to the west, northwest. We have Riverside County to the south, southeast. And then, yeah, we're smack dab in San Bernardino County, and in Orange County is touching us on the southwest part as well, of between Chino Hills and Yorba Linda. We touch there. So we're a similar situation. We have the major markets of LA and Orange County where people are commuting out there. And to your point, during the pandemic, we saw a lot of that. That was the movement into our area, was maybe people on the outskirts of LA or even in LA were going just a little bit further. Either they're not commuting into work as much or not at all, or just really saw the need for a little more room, a little more home, home office, whatever it may be. So they went a little bit further, and we were that next option for them. So, and that still continues. We see a lot of buyers from that area coming this direction, just a little bit further. So similar.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that basically, kind of brings us up to speed with where we're coming from. Similar but different, obviously.
Yeah.
We also had different experiences at Summit. I think it's nice to, again, I was just aggregating all of my notes a couple hours ago before we jumped on, just to kind of bring everything back, because there's so much. And I thought it'd be nice to get a soundboard from someone else and see what we can come up with as far as kind of our main takeaways.
Yeah,
So,
I would say that,
first?
this is my third summit, right? And my first one, I wasn't even a licensed agent yet. I think I was waiting for my license to come in the mail. And so I wasn't as like motivated to like listen and queue in, but the one thing I've noticed at these at Tom Ferry summits is that there's like a common theme every year. This year was definitely heavy on like AI tools and how AI can help real estate professionals. Not so much just to like write all your content or be you or but to be an auxiliary tool to be able to take care of our clients more by being able to diversify and automate a lot of the processes that we do manually, and it can be so painstaking, right? So, I mean, AI to me was like the biggest like overarching theme of the 3 days was AI and how you can use it in your brokerage or in your office. And I mean, out of all the things that there's so many AI tools that I could take away from. I mean, I have my list right here of every single tool that we went over on a couple of those sessions. But the biggest to me were like the video editing tools. A lot of us real estate agents, they try to do a lot of like video heavy content, because it conveys information and builds trust, and it's easy to show property with video, right?
Yeah.
But editing, unless you have a support staff, can be cumbersome. So like some of the big ones that for me for editing was like text to edit, and then even just like touching up videos, or just being more intuitive with like how the video should look, and pointers on script writing, and pointers on using tools in order to just like formulate a better content that doesn't sound so limited. There's so many options for cleaning up audio when you're outside filming a home tour or a tour of a neighborhood. Were you inspired by the AI tools at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, number 2 on my list has to do with AI. At the same time, the big thing they did talk about AI is a lot of it's out there. It's very well developed. It's also kind of like 85% of the way there, right? Like
Right.
use it to bring you up to speed 85%, but then, put that touch to complete it on the 15%, on your personal end. And along with the AI heavy stuff was like, get more personal. And it's interesting, but I feel like the AI can help us be more personal. So as we integrate our database into videos or emails or whatever it may be, AI can integrate those things and make it more personalized to Jenny that I'm emailing to, or this video that I'm going to send to Jenny, and I'm speaking specifically to her. But I took that personal aspect of it kind of to heart as kind of my number 2, and using AI to aid in that. Yeah, so many different tools to use it for. I mean, something like this is a longer format video that we're doing right here. And I think it's called Opus. You can take this video, put it in there, and it'll kick back, 10 clips of pointers of shorter video that we're going to film here. So yeah, a lot of different things, very, very, very overwhelming. Some of it weird, some of like the
So
deep
weird.
fake stuff. But a lot of it that can be useful. And I think that's where I'm at, is like trying to figure out which ones or which three that I can really like learn and integrate, because there is a learning curve behind it too. The prompts of how to utilize it and to its best ability. Part of me thinks it's going to take more time to get that process going, but in the end, as long as you're utilizing it, it can be an efficiency thing. So
I like that 80-85% thing, because it's so true. You go, have you ever seen a listing where you can totally tell they didn't even like edit any of the description, and it's like this majestic like sunset view, and it's like in a trailer park. I mean, you have to like, you have to have some sort of like editing to it. It can't just be like point click and set and forget. There's definitely still a human element to it.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Number one on my list, going back to like the theme, I feel like AI was most definitely a theme. There was one session a day on it. So there was 3 total sessions just on AI. I mean, that's a pretty strong commitment to it. And that was incorporated into a lot of the conversations that either Tom was having or some of the other coaches were having. But another thing that I saw, and Tom pretty much opened right up with it, was that 2023 has been a rough year, right? In some markets, it's 30 to 35% down from a transaction count. The number of homes sold has been down year over year or over the past couple of years. So, that's been tough on a lot of people. It's hit people, as far as agents and their business. It's been tough. I can speak to that personally. And I know a lot of people were kind of like shaking their heads, yes, as they saw these things. But that's also a story that we're telling ourselves in our head. Yes, the sales volume is down, but there's still 4.358 million homes projected to be sold this year, which equates to like 11,000 a day. That's a lot of homes to be sold still. So, just that internalization of no one's selling their home, it's not necessarily true. And specifically, no one with a mortgage rate under X% is selling their home. But there was an agent that did a study in her local market where they did a study where they looked at the age of the mortgage, and the ages were pretty young, and those were ones which are going to be a lower interest rate. They're still selling their home at a higher rate than you would expect. So I think this dialogue that we're putting out there, that no one with a rate of under 4%, no one with a rate of under 3.5% is going to sell their home, might be a little bit of a story that we're telling ourselves in our head. And, because life happens, they continue to say life happens. People move for various reasons. Yes, maybe people aren't moving for fun right now, but they're moving for a job relocation. They're moving because they're having a baby. They're moving because they have these needs, and 4.8 million people are doing that this year. So it's important to remind myself of that, at least.
Yeah. Along the lines of your first point there, one of my big like favorite talks of the week was Steve Harney from Keeping Current Matters, and kind of like his economics perspective. And he is first to say, is like, if you can predict when the market, when the interest rate's going to come down, then you'll be an automatic billionaire. Like, no one can tell you when the interest rates are coming down. I mean, Jerome Powell can't tell you when it's going to be coming down. And so I really liked the reality check of Steve Harney, and I really deep dived into his Keeping Current Matters platform the last few days. And what was astonishing to me, and I've been reading about it, but I haven't really like looked too much into it. But there's a bunch of equity out there. The home prices, especially in our California market, they're continuing to tick up a little bit, even from last fall. And so people that purchased their home and maybe even refinanced it in 2021, 2020, they still have a ton of equity in their house. And so, like you said, life events aren't going to stop. They're not going to stop somebody from selling their house. If they need to sell their house, they're going to sell it, and which means they're going to need to buy a house somewhere else, right? So this, like, it's definitely less house. There's less inventory on the market and a lot more people that have a lower interest rate are hanging on to it. But I liked his perspective on, people will need to sell their house no matter what the economic times are. And we need to be there as agents ready to take care of those people when they're ready to go, because someone's always going to sell a house. And when they do, they have to buy something else. So just to being poised and ready and not being in the negative mindset of like, the sky is falling, market's going to crash. We have to embrace the reality, not put our head in the sand. But at the same time, is if we're constantly dwelling on this sort of, my outlook on this talk was, if we're constantly dwelling on this like doom and gloom scenario of the real estate market, then we're not going to be in the positive mindset of who can we take care of? What clients can I really help get into a house? Who can I help get top dollar for the house they're selling if they have to relocate or niche down? So it's just being more optimistic, even in face of uncertainty in the market. Just having a leg up as an agent in a time like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, some of the statistics that he went through, just as it pertains to foreclosures and just how low the number of foreclosures are, obviously there's a lot of conversation out there that the market is just going to just completely implode. And he was able to offer quite a few statistics about just how that's not necessarily true. Just whether it's lending standards, whether it's foreclosure numbers, you're going to see manipulation by the media on things like foreclosure numbers being up 172% year over year, when in 2021, right, like there weren't any foreclosures, right? So yeah, it's gone up a little bit, but it's still like exceptionally below some of the historic numbers, and most definitely below numbers we saw after the 2008 situation.
That's super important point, because you see it in like Goldman Sachs write articles about high foreclosure rate, but like you said, in 2021 you weren't allowed to foreclose on somebody as a bank. I don't know when the protection stopped. Is it still in? I'm not even sure if it was still in place into 2022, but there was like a period where you couldn't evict somebody, you couldn't foreclose on anybody. So like any statistic from those 2 years is kind of out the window when it comes to that.
Yeah, going back to some statistics, especially about like people needing versus wanting to move. I saw something actually today from 1,000 watt, which Mark Davison was there from 1,000 watt, and they did a research on from baby boomers essentially, right? And they're looking at what's holding them back or scaring them about an eventual move, because a lot of them right now are moving. I've worked with a number of them that are moving, and whether it's downsizing, moving out of state, whatever it may be. And like the interest rate scenario was like 15%. That was like 15% amongst their different things that they were worried about. The highest, which was like in a 52% range or something like that, was just basically the move itself, packing up a lifetime worth of things in a home and just up and moving, whether it be out of state or to a different area. So you see what their fears are, and it's not necessarily the interest rate. They have a high level of equity, high level of equity, and they just want to maneuver that into a new lifestyle, which is important. And I think those are the people that are still making moves, because people want different lifestyles, and that will motivate them to make a move. So
yeah, it's especially if you have a 55, if someone's retirement age and they have a 3,000 square foot house, and they have like the house is majority paid off, and they're going to shrink down to like a 1,500 square foot and 55 and better community somewhere else. I mean, the house is going to be paid for when they move into it, most likely, if that's the scenario. And it's definitely interesting that what he brought up about like the fears and what the actual fear is.
Yeah.
The people I've talked to, sometimes you think, oh, the interest rate, people are going to be nervous about the interest rate. But I think a lot of times, if money's the issue, it's more of like, how much is my payment going to be? Not so much what the interest rate's going to be. And so they go, well, I'm not going to move because I can't afford over $4,000 a month and for a mortgage payment. It's like, well, what if you could make that happen? I mean, what if you can make a $3,800 mortgage payment happen? Would you move? Oh yeah. It's like, well, so it's not really about the interest rate. It's about how much you can afford.
Yeah, that's important. That's an important thing to think about for sure. Is the affordability versus just this number that you can't have attached to you for, whatever the stigma that it has. So was there another topic that you had found interesting?
Well, I have like two. Mine are kind of quasi, just like mind shift things, because I'm a very energetic person, and sometimes I can get a lot of the shiny object syndrome. So I took it this year. I took it down to like, I'm going to key in on like 3 things that it can be actionable. And the small things that were actionable for me were like really narrowing down on my schedule day to day and being very clear with myself. Like, I don't take appointments that aren't related to this during this time window. And I'm only doing, like, say, I'm only calling my client sphere between 10 and 11 in the morning. And then I'm working in my other office and my other business from this chunk to this chunk. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to go do home tours or work on video content, and just being very granular. So the last 2 days, I've really revamped my calendar, and I've taken that to heart. And that's kind of one of those things where, yeah, you can get that on an online YouTube video, but being in person and hearing it from other people and other agents is one of the main reasons why I like to go to Summit in the first place, is all the side conversations you have between sessions with other agents, and how they crush it, really. So that's kind of, it's not really a very satisfying answer, I don't think, but it's something I always take away, is like, whenever I leave there, okay, X, Y, and Z, these 3 people do this habit and they do really well, and this is why. And so I'm going to do it now. So I took a lot of nuggets like that away. How about
Yeah.
yourself?
Yes, same here. It's interesting you had the conversation about being there versus online, whatever it may be. I had that same internal conversation throughout the 3 days that I was there, and then also had the conversation with my wife when I got home. And that the first day I had a feeling that, hey, I could get this, there's an online version of this. I could get that there. But one, am I going to sit there for 8 hours at home, with my undivided attention on the screen and on the speakers? Probably not. And two, just, I mean, as we know, in person is just different. You feel the emotion, and it most definitely speaks to you. You have people like yourself sitting next to me, kind of holding the accountability of paying attention, being engaged, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely on that for there. And as far as like, for sure, my number 3 topic that I, was one of my major takeaways was, Tom had an analogy of a study where, people without a North Star will just walk in circles, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't have a point of reference to where you want to go or need to be, or would like to get to, you're just going to walk in circles, and that's going to get you nowhere closer towards your goals. So I, over the past few years, have developed a way of kind of making setting my yearly, I've called them ambitions or intentions, and they've just been a series of actions that I aspire to take. And they typically have had a funny way of getting me towards, pretty decent success in my eyes.
Mhm.
I think that whether it's just the time or whatever it may be, I can most definitely see having a clear intention on a very specific goal, whether it be the number of families I want to help, the volume, or the total sum of the homes that I've sold, whatever that goal is, or the goal I want for my family, or the goal I want for my personal financial structure. That needs to be clear. The
Yeah.
goals need to be clear. They need to be visible. And that North Star is very necessary, because even if you don't quite get there, you're making progress towards getting there. And that's certainly, it sounds kind of rah motivational, but it hit me for sure. So that was a big one on my end.
Yeah, I agree. Leading indicators and versus lagging indicators, like, I always think to myself, like, in the front of my mind, I go, I need to make 5 videos this week. I need to do a home tour every week for video. I need to make 3 phone calls a day. I need to do this, and like all these things. But those are just lagging indicators of like what is the ultimate goal. But like the ultimate goal of, like, okay, say it's going to be 2 transactions a month for the rest of this year, or say it's going to be like 3 listing appointments a week, or whatever like the actual producing goals are. Like, those indicators are pretty important to keep at the forefront of your mind. And like, there's one thing I did. It's on a different whiteboard, you can't see it behind me, a little bit more raw data, is like, what are my goals and how am I going to reverse engineer back? Because we have like Tom talks about the 100-day challenge starting September 15th. I think it's like until the end of the year. And then I was trying to break it down. Okay, how many phone calls is that a day that's going to reach me 40 conversations into one transaction, and kind of breaking it down to like reverse engineering out the last 100 days of the year and how we can make our goals come to fruition. I think I set my 2023 goals in like December last year with my coach. And then I'm barely maybe halfway there, but
Yeah.
you have to set your goals like as a stretch, because if you don't stretch yourself and you make your goals too attainable, then it's like you're not going to feel like you won when you reach them. You know what I mean? So you always want to make my goals like far out to where I can really stretch to try to reach those goals. And I find it personally, that's how I get more motivated when it's like a struggle, but like it's fun, like the game's fun to try to get there, you know?
Yeah, makes total sense. And in previous years, I've set goals specific like that, and for whatever reason, I just felt like let's set like process goals, right? Yeah, it's a way of saying it. And
Yeah.
and over the last couple of years, it's been a situation where it's just the market's been flooded, and there's been a lot of volume and a lot of transactions happening. And the process has been going well. It's just, I think that having that North Star, again, from a business perspective, as well as a more personal family, like life perspective, really like was, hit me hard for sure. So that was a direction I plan to go in. The last thing is like just the connections made, right? Like so many people that I met there from all across the country, learning about just tiny little ideas, ways about going about their business, and just kind of accountability. I look forward to kind of connecting with like people like you, Seth, and then like others that I connected with over the years or over the course of 3 days, and just kind of checking in, seeing what they're doing, whether it's on social or whatever, and staying connected and getting ideas and supporting each other too.
100%, 100%. A lot of these things, these expos, these conferences, I'm in a different trade organization. We do the same thing over there. Like I would say 80% of like what I get from these is meeting with other professionals, not so much just what I hear on stage, but really just getting down and networking with people and hearing what they've got. And honestly, if you're going to build a referral partner, say with this gentleman I met in San Antonio, Texas, and I spent an hour talking to him like over coffee. So now like if I know someone's going to San Antonio, it feels like I know the guy to put you in touch with. Or so you start to meet these connections when you get out of your bubble of your market and you meet face to face with other agents around the country, because referring agents and being there for your clients who are moving out of the area, or friends of theirs or family of theirs that are in a different area looking for an agent, you can say, I know I've got the guy for you. I mean, how many other professions can you say can do that, right?
Yeah.
It's just another level of service that we get through networking.
Most definitely. And the networking, like I said, goes to, helping each other too, like with ideas, problems, solutions. And it was a great experience this year for sure.
Yeah.
Last year was my first year. This was my second year. First year was kind of like just my mind was exploding on many levels, not really sure how to get my feet on the ground and figure everything out.
Same.
And
Yeah.
this year was a little more okay. I know where to sit in the big giant conference room. I know to bring a jacket, and I know to have those conversations with people to connect and grow.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great catching up with you again. Look forward to more conversations down the road, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
All right, man. Talk to you later, Thomas.
All right. Bye.
Yep.